Hello everybody, welcome to a Ranger Auto video. Today's video is a little different. We're not actually fixing anything today, we're answering questions. So I'm out here at our 89 Ford Ranger, Project Rusty, because I had some questions that I was scrolling through today and I saw some on there that I wanted to go ahead and answer, because we've got viewers all over the place that are trying to do these jobs, and maybe this will help you out. So one of the questions I had asked was, how do you get the cover off for the timing belt? In the timing belt video, I showed how you change the timing belt. Now, I did it on the 2001 Ranger, but it's basically the same on the 4-cylinder engines. V6 is a little different. I don't have a V6 here to show you guys, but to get the cover off, normally you would have a screw in the center right there, and then you have a couple attachment nuts down here. There's one right there where my finger's pointing to. That, I believe, if I recall, was an 8mm socket. Take that bolt out there, and then it's got some snaps on the side. It's kind of like the 4-cylinders they used to have in the old Ford Pintos and Bobcats back in the 70s and 80s. It's the same cover. Now, you would just unsnap it, pull it off, and then you'd lift straight up, and then there you go. Some engines, they have an additional bolt down in here. And then I've seen some where instead of having snaps, they have like little locks in there. You just trip the lock with a screwdriver and it comes right out. I think I've got another bolt down under here by the thermostat that you have to get out to get the cover off. But it's real simple. Before you get to that point, you want to go ahead and set your timing marks. If you can't get to the timing marks right now, then you just at least want to get this belt off and then pull your upper radiator hose, give you some extra room. Of course, you can set the timing marks manually, which is how I would recommend you doing it, by using a socket down inside the harmonic balancer, and then just kind of crank it till your lines line up like in the video. Hopefully that answers your question on that one. If I need to make it any clearer, just let me know. Other question I had was about the coil packs, because from 1983, well, no, 1985 onward, I believe, Ford used what they call a dual plug system on these 4-cylinders, and it was mainly the 2.3s up to 95, and then 2.5 from 96 to when they stopped building a 2.5 in 2002. They used a dual plug system. Basically, Ford thought that to ease emissions, they could do the initial burn when you go ahead and you're driving it normally, and then they have another burn cycle, kind of sequential burning, if you will. So what that means is you've got 8 plugs in a 4-cylinder engine, but you have an intake and an exhaust plug. So the firing order is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 3, 4, 2, whatever that is. And basically what it works out as is when you've got cylinder 1 up, it'll burn the exhaust and then the intake on that cylinder. And the idea here is to get rid of any excess fuel that may be in the cylinder, whereas on a normal engine you would have a different way of getting rid of it. So the question I had was, switching the coil packs around, will it improve fuel economy, or will it make it get more horsepower or anything like that? The answer is no. Basically, the only thing that dual coils will do for you is if your primary coil fails, you can run it off the secondary. It'll run really rough because it's expecting the other coils to fire, and you may get a check engine light. But in a situation where your primary coil fails, you can always take the secondary coil off and place it where the primary would sit, and you can run it off of one coil pack. I would not recommend doing that on the 89 to 94. No, I'm sorry, 89 to 92 Rangers like this one, because of this little box right here. This is your DIS module. This is a distributorless ignition system. This module is $300. It's set up for both primary and secondary. What happens if the primary coil pack fails and you switch over and you're using one coil pack is this module is going to tell the PCM we have a problem. This is a solid state module, which means that if it's not functioning on both ends, you're going to burn out one side. So you don't want to run your truck for too long on just one coil pack. On the newer trucks, the 96 onward that use the dual system, it's basically the same thing except you don't have that module. You have what is known as just your PCM. And as soon as you have that, the truck's going to run really rough. You're going to get a check engine light. You're going to get a loss of power and everything else that goes along with that. So, you know, wherever the coil packs are, leave them where they are. Let them do their job. If they fail, replace them. Coil packs usually last a really long time in these trucks. Mine's got 300,000 on it, and I still have the original coil packs from 1989 on it. So, you know, just do the routine maintenance on it and everything, and you'll be good to go. So, but that should answer that question. I'm trying to think if there was any others that stood out to me. Oh, one person had a question about getting the front pumps or front seal out of the crank. Well, I don't know if I can show you on this one, but alright, so let me get in a spot where the sun's not in the way here. Down there is your crankshaft. Now you're going to take this pulley off, you're going to pull this pulley off. This pulley is held on by that center bolt. This pulley is held on by 4 bolts in the middle, kind of like on a Dodge Dakota. You're going to disassemble the first pulley, you're going to get to the second pulley. The reason that you have to take the front pulley off first is because you may have to use the holes from the bolts to put a steering wheel puller or a harmonic balancer puller on it, whatever you want to call it, to pull the pulley off. When you get the pulley off, behind that pulley is the seal. But you've got, I believe you're going to have to pull the lower timing gear off in order to get it. So what you want to do before you do all of that is make sure your timing's set so that your top dead center and your marks are where they need to be, and then take the front cover off, and then you can access the bottom, because you're going to have a belt that runs along down here, and that's your timing belt that goes on the crankshaft gear. You'll pull that gear back, and then using a puller, they make a seal puller for that. You're going to just reach in there from underneath the truck, pull that seal out, and then the new seal you're going to set up with either a seal installation tool or a large enough socket that you can get around the edges of the seal and just tap it back in. And then as soon as you get it tapped back in, you put the gear back on, put it all back together. Now, one thing you're going to notice about that timing gear is it's got a keyway in it for a Woodruff key. Very important that it goes back that way, because there's a matching notch in the crankshaft for that Woodruff key to sit. Take note of how it comes out, because a Woodruff key's got a flat edge and then it's got kind of like a half moon on the bottom. And some of those go in with the flat on top, some of those go in with the flat on the bottom. Some of them are perfectly square, so it doesn't matter which way they go in, but they'll only go in one way. So pay attention which way that goes. That little key has to go in there because it lines up that gear so that when you put your timing back together, everything works as it's supposed to. And then of course you want to torque it all back together with what the torque specs are, whatever they happen to be. And then you should be good to go after that. Now, I'm not 100% sure whether you need to drop the oil pan for this. I don't believe you do. There are some GMs you have to drop the oil pan to get to, and there's some older Fords you have to do that with. But I think on these engines, you just go ahead and just pull that front seal out. You don't have to worry about the front seal on the oil pan. Unless that's what you're pulling, and in which case you'll have to drop the oil pan, pull the seal off the end, and then reseal it. But if you're going to go through all of that, you might as well just go ahead and reseal the whole oil pan, or you're going to have leaks. So, I think that's all the questions I have for today. regarding this video here. Now, I'm thinking if I need to do any corrections. I don't believe so. But if you have any questions or comments or suggestions for future videos, leave me a message down below. You can also email me at ranger.auto.repair@gmail.com. And we'll see you next time.